Dear Canadians and First Peoples. Property rights in Canada, the provinces and the territories are non-existent. The provinces and territories have exclusive authority over property rights in Canada, which is 9% for Canadian subjects and 0.2% for Canada's savages, defined constitutionally. No provincial crown has ever wanted to codify the subjects or savages in such constitutional language enshrining any property rights. Savages and slaves don't get property because they are not people or citizens in international law according to Canada's crown governments regionally or federally. The crown politicians elected and appointed, 0.1%, enjoy 89% of the defined crown lands in Canada. Premiers and appointments have 48%, while Prime Minister and appointments have 41% of the land in Canada. 89% plus 2% federal and provincial crown facility taxpayer-funded lands. The average politician in Canada enjoys 300% more land subsidized than the savage Indian, defined by the Indian Act. The average savage Indian receives $508 a month, while the average crown politician, elected or appointed, enjoys $12,600 a month. COP15 declares 30% land to be reserved for biodiversity and conservation. The savage Indians are reduced to 0.2% and are not the stewards or conservationists claimed globally by the Crown Government of Canada or any of the provincial/territorial crown governments. The Canadian subjects, defined constitutionally, are only allocated 9% of Canada, or 2.2 times less than the Chinese people. Canada breaches the 1948 Declaration of Human Rights, the 1960 Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples, and the 1966 Convention on Civil and Political Rights. In the Constitution of Canada Acts 1867 to 1982, consolidated, Section 92 outlines property rights as exclusive powers of the provinces and territories. When will the provincial and federal crowns settle the claims, transfer self-determination and self-government to all the First Peoples defined as savage Indians? When will the Canadian subjects and savages see a 94.5% land availability versus 9%? Answer 1. The Canadian Crown both federally and provincially will continue on as a colonial first, second, third and savage class system until all First Peoples are assimilated into subjects, slaves, or made extinct, genocide. Subjects will continually grow in poverty and incremental standard of living reductions. Colonialism through mass immigration sees more and more people stacked into the same amount of land. The wealth through subsidizing politicians continues to grow with colonial mass immigration. Answer 2. The 89% of crown lands in the hands of the federal and provincial governments will remain in place forever until all people in Canada are made subjects, slaves. Canada's crown first class will enjoy all the wealth, while subjects and savages enjoy all the financial losses and expenses. Civil rights are not the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. In 1945, the United States of America, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the Republic of China, the Provisional Government of France, and the United Kingdom formed the United Nations. In 1948, under the Declaration of Human Rights, the superpowers wrote civil rights into binding world law, and by 1971, 5 out of 5 United Nations Security Council permanent members ratified these Part 1 civil rights forever. Part 2 of civil rights would be completed in 1960, the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples, and in 1966, the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Both editions were finalized by the United Nations Permanent 5 Security Council members in 1971. Where in the Constitution of Canada do you find civil rights? What makes for a serious problem as citizens in Canada? Answer 1. Civil rights belong exclusively with the provinces and territories. Answer 2. Canadians and First Peoples are not constitutionally recognized as citizens in Canada. They are either subjects or savages. They are neither people nor are they citizens. Civil rights are located in Section 92 of the Constitutional Acts of Canada 1867 to 1982 consolidated. Since 1867, the civil rights are promised to the provinces alone and have never been removed or repealed. Premiers Danielle Smith and Scott Moe have decided to pursue civil rights and state that they will follow the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms stipulated throughout the 1982 amendments. They have both publicly said they will decide which civil rights belong and which do not for the defined subjects, Alberta/Saskatchewan slaves, and savages, original Alberta/Saskatchewan Indians, to be assimilated or destroyed. Unfortunately, for these premiers whom have the power of civil rights over the regional subjects and savages, they must follow the United Nations Security Council's binding world laws or face their justice. If the Treaty 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 Indians rebel in the name of liberty, security of person, property, water, health, education, self-determination, equality of the person, economic, social, religious, political, and cultural determination, self-government, and self-preservation, the allies of World War II, are promised by law to destroy the provincial governments who would force their will over those imprisoned reserve Indians. More than this, they will void the Canadian governmental parties whom have forced sexual as the federal power in the UN state called Canada. The results through UNSC P5 penmanship in our world history since 1945 shows an imposed constitution crafted by USA, Russia, China, UK, and France. Political parties and elections are all voided. A republic is instituted and a blanket constitution crafted inside the UN is imposed until a new election can safely occur. Historical reality for all First Peoples and Canadians in relation to the UNSC P5. They redraw the boundaries. They force land back, displacing all parties of peoples. They institute their style of government. They will administer international justice continually until the country is capable, at their discretion, of peace and security. You will agree to their system or face military intervention over and over again. A final warning to Canadians and First Peoples. The Allies of World War II in 1962 were at a near-nuclear war in the Cuban Missile Crisis. The hard development of nuclear weapons and conflicts of America and the USSR raged on until 1979. Even in the bloodiest and deadliest conflicts, Vietnam and Czechoslovakia, they administered the most social, cultural, political, and economic transformations around the world ever in the world's history and at home known as the civil rights movements. Many have ignored the victorious allies of World War II. Many blew them off as nothing to be burdened by. All of those regimes are no longer left alive on this earth today. I hope this finds everyone well. Sincerely, Dave Bjorkman.